Life is unpredictable. One moment, everything is stable. The next, a move, a job change, an unexpected event that shakes up our lives. How does your family handle change? Do they embrace it together, or does it cause stress and resistance? Today, we're going to dive into ways to build a culture of adaptability in your family. So when life throws a curveball at you, you're going to be able to face it together with confidence and resilience. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Today, we are going to talk about how to create a culture of adaptability in your family. One of my pillars is family. Core 4. I have faith, self, family, and then my vocation. Family is at the center of everything that I do. It's one of the most important things in my life. And I can tell you, having a culture of adaptability has helped us get through even the toughest of times. So for those of you listening out there, I want you to, again, be an active listener, because we're going to go over some challenges and we're going to give you some practical ways, some tips and tricks that I've implemented in my family throughout the years, that my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom have implemented in my family, in just the grit and determination that they have had to get us through the most difficult times. So you are going to want to listen all the way through the end. There's going to be a challenge at the end as always, so you're not going to want to miss it. So let's dive into the content for today. Really, one thing that as I was journaling this morning, and I was thinking about not just my family, but families that I've grown up around, characteristics of families who have endured a tremendous amount of change and are continuing or going through a tremendous amount of change. And that may be you out there right now. There might be a time where you have a loss of a job. You've lost a loved one. Maybe you have to make a move halfway across country and you have to uproot your family from their friends and their school. Whatever that looks like for you, I want you to know that that experience is going to help you, but more importantly, it's going to help your family develop this culture of adaptability that we're going to talk about today. Families that can adapt, that can pull together in the toughest of times, will thrive. I have witnessed and I have seen families that go through a very difficult event, a change. They come out in the end just stronger together because they have that common experience. And this is very similar to a group. Maybe it's a downsizing of a company and you've started at 50 and now you're down to 10. That group of 10, they have gone through that experience, and I can promise you, because I've been there, we were stronger. We depended on each other more than ever because we knew just how fortunate we were to get through that difficult time. And so groups and families that don't do well in change, they don't have that culture of adaptability, they're going to feel disconnected. And when you begin to feel alone and disconnected from people, that's when bad things can happen. Human beings need to have a feeling of connection. They need to feel as if there's a greater purpose than just themselves. And we can accomplish that in our families, and we can accomplish that in the best of teams out there. And you know what I'm talking about. If you've worked on a team, or if your family is close-knit, it's almost like the mafia, where you can talk bad about the family, but anybody else talks bad about the family, there's going to be trouble, right? Same thing with the group. It is amazing what camaraderie, what going through difficult times and coming out of that for the best does for you, for your family, and for your closest friends. So I wanted to really start out with a story. One story that I can remember like it was yesterday. I was in 6th grade. It's been a while since I've been in 6th grade, Go Be Great community, trust me. And I can remember, having a conversation with my parents. They pulled us in the living room. My dad, he was known for his lectures, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for everybody to be convening in the living room. And they told us that Dad had taken a job opportunity. We lived in Oklahoma. This was going to be out on the East Coast, and we were going to be moving in the summer. They were going to finish us up in that year of school, and then we would move, and we would be beginning a new school year in our new home, our new temporary home. And even now, I get chill bumps because it was 5th, 6th grade. And that's in our formative years. You're just beginning to kind of get your friend group, figure out who you are, figure out what you like, who you like, that sort of thing. And now you're moving into an entirely new environment. And it was something that I look back now, and it was the best. I loved the East Coast, the culture there, the vibrancy, the things to do. There was never a lack of activities. And I appreciate that now, but as I was in the thick of things, it was awkward. I felt awkward. I felt out of place. I can probably remember maybe 1, 2 friends, and I looked forward to coming back to Oklahoma. I looked forward to spending the summers with my grandparents because it was familiar to me. And that's what building this culture of adaptability creates, is the resiliency for me now to go and experience new things. I love to travel to new places. I don't know anything about these places, but I love to go and I love to visit. I love to explore. I love to not even have a plan and just go and experience and be in the situation. And a lot of that is because of the fact that I went through that specific experience. We only spent 3 years on the East Coast, 3.5 years, and then we came back to Oklahoma. But I can remember just the growth that I had. And one of the other cool things I'll just mention right now is everybody thought I was cool here in Oklahoma because I lived on the East Coast. So that was a win-win situation for me, especially coming back. And I was in 8th, 9th grade at that time, but it was still a difficult time in my childhood. But looking back now, it was for the best. I want to take a quick break from our discussion today to mention a couple things. First of all, thank you for listening. Only 50% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button. It's going to allow our channel to continue to grow and give you updates whenever we get new episodes published. The second thing is our coaching program. People who want to work with me are looking to make a lasting change, level up, or get unstuck. I gave up on my dreams. I was a young parent, had to make a couple career changes. I went through some financial hardships. I had to learn how to flip my mindset and stay consistent. Our coaching programs are individualized one-on-one sessions where I will teach you a proven system and guarantee that you can reinvent yourself over and over again. If that sounds like something that interests you, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com and sign up to get more information. Now back to the show. So the first thing that I want to talk about, especially when we go and we create or we want to create a culture of adaptability in our families, is this growth mindset. And it starts with you. It starts with the leader of the family or leaders of the family, you and your significant other. If you're leading a team and leading a group of individuals, right, is they are going to do as you do. So if you are exhibiting habits and demonstrating what a growth mindset looks like, they're going to follow that. You can talk about a growth mindset all day until you're blue in the face, But I can promise you that others around you, until you act that out, until they can see what a growth mindset looks like, then it's going to catch on. So a couple things, one, a growth mindset is all about seeing challenges as opportunities. It's about flipping that mindset. When a challenge comes about, you can either view it a couple different ways. It can be looked at as an obstacle. It can be looked at as something that is just going to be too tough for you to get through, or you can look at it as an opportunity. And having a growth mindset, you're going to look at it as an opportunity. What's that going to do? A couple different things. First, one of the things that I have adopted early on is this yet language, and that's YET. So write that down. Encourage a yet way of thinking. For example, I can't do that, whatever it is, yet. That is out of sight. I can't see me accomplishing that yet. What does that yet do for you? It gives you forward thinking. It lets you know that you got to grow into whatever that yet is going to be. It may be difficult now. You may not have the expertise to get it done now, but you are going to figure out with a yet mindset. So just add that to the end of your sentence, and it flips the way that you begin to think about the statement, especially those I can't statements. I'm not a big fan of I can't statements, but if you add yet to the end of those, flips it all around for you. Try it out. I promise you're going to see some benefit there. The second thing that I grew up around my grandparents, I was very fortunate to get to spend a lot of time with my grandparents, and they continuously shared stories about our families, family members, relatives that overcame obstacles. So I grew up hearing these stories. I grew up meeting the people that migrated in to the U.S., had jobs, worked in the fields as mechanics, served our country at war at very, very young ages, lived to tell the stories, succeeded in life, built pretty much from nothing. My grandparents, on my mom's side, they built their house out of ammunition boxes, chicken wire, and stucco. They had a wooden subfloor. Talk about overcoming obstacles. Talk about building something for your future, for your family. And I would walk in to their house and I felt like a giant because everything was, super kind of short, the creaks in the floors, but they absolutely took care of everything that they possibly had. My grandfather, his cars were immaculate. Why? He couldn't afford a car. He came back from the war and he got into cars and he took care of his cars. He learned how to fix his own things. That's where I get a lot of my OCD, if you want to call it today. How you do one thing is how you will do everything. And sharing those stories of your family, of your aunts, uncles, grandparents, relatives, cousins, whoever that may be, inspires the younger generation. It's just one of the blessings that I have had in my life. So continue to tell our stories. Continue to tell and share and really dig into and be proud of our culture. Too many times we try to hide our culture to Americanize or join a specific group, right? One of the things that I've talked about quite a bit very early on in this podcast is my inability to speak Spanish, and I'm changing that. But it was something that really we didn't get taught because of the fact that they wanted to Americanize us. They didn't want to put that burden on us. And, for the longest time, I always asked why, but now, knowing what I know, I take 50% of ownership of that reason why I didn't learn. I never asked. I never sat down and really, spoke Spanish with my grandparents. So that's an example of share your culture, share those stories, because it's going to create that growth mindset. It's going to help others appreciate where you're from. If you're in an organization, I love hearing about the history of the organization, where you came from. I consistently will tell stories. Leaders are storytellers. Get good at telling stories because people connect to stories. People connect to experience. The more vivid, the more imagery that you can get into your stories, the better it's going to be. The more it's going to stick. If you can add even some sensory type, things in there, take them to the home. I drive by my grandparents' home. They don't even live there anymore. Why do I do it? Because they still dirt roads in their little small town. And it takes me back and it makes me appreciate everything that I have worked for, everything that they worked for, and who they instilled me to be. So again, that growth mindset. And it starts with encouraging a yet language, sharing those stories about how our family members, how our relatives overcame obstacles, and then reframing failures as learning moments. That's one of these other things with growth mindset is that failure is an option. It's how we look at it. We look at it, or I look at it as a redirection. I look at it as a course correction. It's framing again that growth mindset around failures. Very important when we're all going to fail. And it's how we pick ourselves up, and what we learn is going to be important on how we move forward. And having that growth mindset is going to be an important part of that. So again, sharing your story of making sure that people understand where the organization, where the group, and where your family came from and the challenges that they went through and they experienced. Just look at Netflix. I mean, those that watch Yellowstone and all the spin-offs to Yellowstone. Story about how the ranch, Yellowstone Ranch, had been in their family forever. That's a prime example of how sharing a story creates this legacy, creates this ownership, creates a strong bond between the people who are living today. So the takeaway here is the way you talk about challenges is going to shape your family's ability to adapt. They're listening. I promise. They're listening. I always, when we were, my kids are older now, my two older adults, they're well in their 20s, and my 16-year-old here. So we got a bunch of adults and young adults that are around us right now. But when they were little, we'd always say little ears are around because they're listening. They're watching on how and what you say and how you react to situations, especially to challenges. And they're going to remember those times, I can promise. So the takeaway here is be mindful of the way that you talk about challenges as they arise, especially in front of your team members and especially in front of your family. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor, click on that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.